at, bro? Yeah, I heard that, man. What is all that yelling, man? It's like 2:30 in the morning. Man, they got the black trash bags, man. Look like they packing up Big Ben. I wonder what he did. Man, you know Big Ben's always arguing and fighting with the police. Probably done got into it with the officer, man. I seen something that I never ever thought that I'd see in my life, man. Oh, man, the scenery is just stuck in my head. They say Big Ben got caught in the mop closet with a Sergeant Miller, man, bent over, man, getting done in, man. Big Ben, his wife is my cousin, man. Now, you know they send a letter home anytime you get caught in sexual activity. They send a letter home, and she's wanting answers from me, and I don't know what to do, bruh. Yo, once again, it's on back at you one more again. Real Ken's TV in the house like kitchen sinks. Hey, you all got a treat today. This is the craziest, most, I don't know, wild story that you're ever going to hear on YouTube in regards to inmates, the Department of Corrections. And I'm not even going to tell you too much. So check this out. We're going to get right into it. This goes all the way back several years ago. I'm talking 20 years ago. I'm in the Department of Corrections. I'm in the pen. Being a knucklehead, you know, not doing the right thing in life or what have you, lands me in the penitentiary. Now, this is my first time ever being in the penitentiary. So, I'm on the yard or whatever, and now it's a low-level camp. You know what I mean? A low-level prison camp. I started off at medium. You get good behavior, what have you. I stayed behind the walls, the fence for 9 months, worked my way down. Ended up at Blackburn Correctional Complex. It's in Lexington, Kentucky. Beautiful place. Now, when I say beautiful, it's in regards to being in the Department of Corrections. Nothing is beautiful about being in prison. But for me and my situation, I was right there in my own backyard. Like my family lived within, 10 minutes. Everybody, lived in Lexington that was coming to visit me. So I was right there. You got contact visits. It was just a nice spot for me to be in, considering the fact that I was incarcerated, if that makes any sense. So I'm locked up, man, and there's a dude. And I met him while I was incarcerated. We're gonna call him Big Ben. We're gonna call him Big Ben, because I typically, sometimes I use a person's real name, but most of the time I don't. Big Ben. Cool dude, man. He wasn't really that big of a dude, so I don't even know why we called him Big Ben. But hey, that's what they call him, so that's what we roll with. Big Ben was probably about 5'11", 6 foot at the tallest, but probably closer to 5'11". I don't know. He didn't weigh that much. Maybe he's a nice sized dude, actually, now I really think about it. Probably like 210, something like that. Lifted a little weights, but his main focus wasn't the weight pile. He was one of them type dudes. He'd go lift weights for, 2 or 3 months, get real strong, get buff or what have you, and then he might not go back in the weight pile for another 6 months. Stayed on the basketball court. I'm talking about that was truly his passion, basketball. And oftentimes, Big Ben would get into it with people on the court. He got into many of fights, many of arguments. He was one of them type of guys, if you fouled him, it's going to be a problem. He was a real cool dude. He just couldn't really keep his temperament when it came to competing on the basketball court, when he played chess, or when he gambled, he hated to lose. Now, the danger in that is that a lot of guys in the penitentiary act just like Big Ben. After all, we were in the penitentiary. We haven't made the best decisions in life. So you got guys that are dealing with things. You got guys that have mental issues. You got guys that have anger problems. There's all type of different elements, all type of different problems, if you will, that people have. And when it comes to like that basketball court, that's why they typically say, if you go and you find yourself in prison, stay off the basketball court. Because that's one of the easiest places to get your wig split. AKA, what I like to say is push your noodle, or get your noodle pushed all the way backwards. Or you might have to do that to someone. Nevertheless, being on the basketball court is just not a good place to be. Big Ben didn't care anything about that. He played ball. He argued every day. He's going to fight you. He don't care if you little. He don't care if you tall, short, big, whatever. He barred none. Absolutely none. He had no picks. You want me? Let's get it. We ain't got to argue. We ain't got to talk about it, whatever. Let's get it. Like I said, he was 6 foot, probably about 5'11", 5'10 and a half, 5'11". Dark-skinned dude, probably weighed, once again, about 210. Short haircut, mild-mannered. He ain't had no golds in his mouth. He ain't had no tattoos or anything like that. Now, I'm giving you all the description so that I'm painting a picture and you can imagine what Big Ben would potentially look like in your head. Cool dude. He was well-respected on the yard. Now, he had a brother. His brother was at the prison camp just as well. They were cool. You know, they didn't have the same mother, but they had the same father. They was cool. His brother was well-respected too. And him and his brother, well, his brother and I, we were close. We were real tight. So, you know, we played basketball. We played chess. We was competitive towards each other, but it wasn't no arguing and getting ready to fight or anything like that. We worked out together. So, naturally, I became cool with Big Ben by way of being cool with his brother. I like Big Ben. Big Ben ended up being in our dorm. I'm in a 50-man dorm. It's like Army barracks. You got 25 different bunk beds. They're racks. That's what you call them in prison or what have you. And there's 25 different ones, but there's, you know, you got the lower and you got the upper. So we're in the same dorm. We talk, we kick it. Sometimes we eat together, whatever. Because like in prison, what typically happens is, like, you get commissary, I'm getting commissary. Some nights, some people do it every night. But like for myself, some nights, man, let's go in on a spread on a meal. Okay, yeah, I got the chicken tenders. Okay, you got the chicken tenders, I got the potatoes. I got the potatoes and I got the onions and the peppers. All right, man, we cut them up, throw them in the microwave, because back then you had to throw them in the microwave. Now they have grills. You throw them in the microwave, cook your food, everything's done through the microwave, and you know, you feast, you eat, you break bread. So Big Ben and I, you know, we became pretty cool, you know. And the thing about it was that nobody ever said anything crazy to Big Ben. I'm talking about, he didn't even care if it was an officer. Now, I never seen him strike an officer, but he didn't take no stuff, man. If an officer said something to him, Big Ben was, you know, when I say he barred none, officers just as well. I believe that he would have done something to an officer if it came down to it. But it just wasn't the case. So now that you all know kind of a little bio, if you will, on Big Ben, it should be a lot easier for you all to kind of grasp the story. Actually, I don't think you all will still be able to understand exactly what happened. You'll hear me, you'll understand what I'm saying, but you won't necessarily understand the reason why it happened. One night, actually it was one morning, it's probably 2:30 a.m. and I hear all this yelling. It's like a lot of yelling, but it's not coming from the dorm. You can tell that it's coming from the hallway. Now, the way that this dorm was actually set up, actually it's called a bay. A bay is the area that you sleep in. The dorm is the area where everybody's, like, there were 4 different bays. You got A, B, C, and D. 50-man bays. I forget which one I was in. So let's just say I was in dorm A, where you got B, C, and D. And you have a guards tower that's in the middle. A guards tower is like, it's glass, so you can see inside the actual tower, but there's doors. You can't just walk in. You have to be buzzed in. And typically, inmates are not even allowed in the guards tower anyway. Now, the guards tower, as I mentioned, is in the middle, and then you got the bays that are kind of make a circle. A right here, B right here, C right here, and D right there, and it circles the actual, you know, guards tower. So the officer, whoever is on duty, is able to see everything that's going on for the most part. There's always blind spots in prisons and jails, but for the most part, he's able to see because everything is glass. So I don't know if you all remember the old show Oz. That was a long time ago. But for you all that remember Oz, in the jail cells, Adabisi and them used to wear the little silly hat or whatever to the side. Everything was glass, so you could see inside the cells. That's how it was at Blackburn. So if the officer's sitting in his chair or whatever, he can look, okay, what's going on in A? He's looking. What's going on in B? He can literally look. When it comes to C and D, he just spins his chair around or whatever. Okay, everything looks cool. C, everything appears to be okay in D. That's just the way that it works. And again, once again, we're at a prison camp. It's not really a whole lot of illegal, violent activity going on anyway. So it's, lax and, people just kind of, more so laid back. As I mentioned, I hear this loud noise, but I don't know what's going on. Now, we're inside of the bay, so it's not like we can come outside of the bay into the outside area or what have you to see what's going on, but it's just a lot of screaming. And it sounded as though it wasn't a scream to where somebody was, help me. It wasn't one of those frantic. It was one of those, like, it appeared as though some people were arguing. The heck is going on, man? But it's 2:30 in the morning. The lights is out, so we can't really, gauge we don't really know what's going on. The people that were up. I'd say about 10 minutes later, the lights turn on. The lights turn on. Automatically, we're thinking, oh, shakedown. Because, they try to catch you off guard, and they'll come in at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, try to catch, cell phones or, whatever that you have that's considered contraband. Excuse me, y'all. They'll come in and try to, catch you off guard or whatever. So we're just automatically thinking that it's a shakedown. They come in, but we quickly realize this wasn't a shakedown. They come in when you see those black bags, those big black, however many gallons, 32-gallon trash bags that they carry. Somebody's getting packed up. So the lights turn on, as I mentioned, and they come in with the black trash bags, and they go to whatever rack that Big Ben was sleeping in. When they go to Big Ben's rack, we quickly understand and realize that Big Ben's not even in his rack. Now, that's not really uncommon because Big Ben was a third shift janitor. So, he would go out in the area, clean the rec room, do the windows, whatever the officer needed him to do, mop the floors. He had a list of things that, he needed to do during his shift. So, Big Ben wasn't in his rack, no big deal, but the fact that they were packing him up. So people started to put in their minds 2 and 2 together. Okay, we heard a whole bunch of yelling, screaming, sounding like somebody was arguing. They coming in with the trash bags. Big Ben got a little temper. Big Ben done got into it with the officer on duty. Told Big Ben about that, man. You arguing with the cops and you can't win. You cannot win against the police, and you cannot win against a correctional officer. That's just the way that it goes. So nobody really thought much of it or whatever. It's about 4 or 5 of them packing them up. 4 or 5 officers. They didn't came from security because in the dorm it's only one officer. But it was kind of odd because the one officer that was working the dorm wasn't present as far as packing Big Ben up. Once again, no one thought anything of it. They pack him up. Probably 15, I'd say about 30, 45 minutes after that, the officer that they assigned, the officer came back to the dorm. Not the officer that was working the dorm initially. It was a different officer that they had assigned to the dorm. Everybody's like, man, what's going on, man? He comes in. He's like, look, man, I'm not even supposed to be telling y'all this, man, but this was crazy. This was absolutely crazy. What happened, man? Because everybody's wondering what happened with Big Ben. So the officer that they had assigned the dorm, he was cool. He was like, man, I came in because I was working the shift. And what ended up happening is I went to take my break. So when I came to take my break, Sargent Miller, I'm going to say his punk ass name, Sargent Miller came in to relieve me. Now, when he came in to relieve me, I went and did what I had to do. Now, let me give you all the blueprint or the outlines on Sargent Miller. Nobody liked this son bitch. I'm talking about, man, the officers didn't like him. The inmates didn't like him. He was just arrogant. He would walk around like one of them, them wrestlers that's, when you're talking to him and you trying to explain something to him, you telling him about, something that had happened, in regards to one of the officers or, what have you. And he's just sitting there like, like he's some hellified, like he's on wrestling or something back in the day, So he was just arrogant. Nobody liked him. But outside of him being arrogant, I didn't understand why nobody liked him, because he was just one of them individuals that I never heard him say much. I never really heard him say anything. So it was like, why don't people like this dude? Nobody liked him though, as I aforementioned. So, the officer, he's explaining, he said, yeah, man, I ended up coming back to the dorm because he had forgotten something. Now, he said he tried to radio Sergeant Miller, but he wasn't responding. So when he came back to the dorm, he had a key or whatever that they use to buzz yourself in. So he came into the dorm. As he's coming into the dorm, on the right-hand side is the mop bucket, or the mop closet, rather. That's where, like, all the supplies, clean, your brooms, dustpans, mops, cleaning supplies, anything that you need to, your sprays or what have you. It's called the mop closet. He says that he sees that the mop closet hasn't been shut all the way. So he's like, I ain't thought nothing of it. I went to go shut the mop closet. But when I went and shut the mop closet, I seen a horrific scene. Something that I never, ever want to imagine in my life. Ever in life again. He goes to shut the closet and the light is on. Big Bad Ben is bent over. It's bent over they had like some shelves that was hanging from the wall. And they had the higher shelves, the middle shelves, the lower shelves. Big Ben was bent over. And Sergeant Miller was behind him with his pants down, Big Ben's pants down. And they doing the absolute most. See, you can do the most, which means Urban Dictionary, you're doing too much. But when you're doing the absolute most, that means it's just, there's no coming back from that. He's behind Officer, and I'm going to say this again. Sergeant Miller is behind Big Bad Ben, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they doing the most. When he seen that, he's like, he panicked, he screamed. So all of that yelling and screaming that I had previously mentioned, that's where that came from. So of course, they hurry up and put their clothes back on or whatever. And, Sergeant Miller, no, it wasn't like that, man. It's not, just calm down, man. Just let me explain, just calm down. This officer was hysterical. Now, I don't really want to use his name. I remember his name, but I don't want to use his name because I don't know. He may still be in the Department of Corrections. But after seeing this, I, severely doubt it. Respectfully, of course. He sees this, and this is just traumatizing to him. He's yelling, he's screaming or whatever. As I mentioned, they're putting their clothes on. Miller's trying to explain or whatever. Now, it's one of those things to where this officer has a decision to make. He has no rank. He's not a sergeant. He's not on his way to being a sergeant. Because he's one of those officers to where he was just cool, man. The inmates liked him. He didn't bother nobody or whatever. He was there to get his paycheck or whatever. Cool. He wasn't trying to be a jerk to anyone. It's okay with trying to move up, the ranks and things of that nature. But being a jerk to do so is not cool. Officer Miller's trying to explain to him. He's trying to tell him, listen, man, we take care of each other. We keep these type of things on the wraps. We look out for each other. You can't go to the administration or security and report this, man. Let's stick together, man. It's kind of like it's both of ours. This officer, man, he had a decision to make, as I mentioned. If I don't say anything, I can lose my job. On top of that, this dude is a jerk. Nobody likes him anyway, as I've already mentioned. Nobody likes Sergeant Miller. He decides to do the right thing. He goes to security, goes to the captain, whoever's on post that particular morning. He tells what he's seen. Once he does that, that's why they came back, packed up Big Ben, because this officer had went and reported what he seen. He felt as though he had to do that because an inmate and an officer are not supposed to have any sort of interaction outside of, professional, okay, go do this, go clean the toilet, or, I need some batteries for the remote control. I need the iron. Let me get your ID, or let me, those type of interactions. They're not supposed to be doing the most. And then you got the same sex. I don't knock anybody that likes the same sex, but it's just kind of like, whoa, it was something that he had never seen before. Surreal. So he reports it, and they do the investigation. Well, obviously the investigation didn't happen that night, but they conducted an investigation. Lieutenant Miller, well, not Lieutenant Miller, he was soon to be Lieutenant Miller. Sergeant Miller was relieved of his duties temporarily pending investigation. I'm not sure if he got paid or what have you. Big Ben was thrown in a hole, but they shipped him immediately. The next day, they shot him to penitentiary, behind the fence, behind them walls. Pending investigation, he's sitting in a hole. He ain't been convicted of anything, but he's sitting in a hole while they investigate this matter, see exactly what was going on. Oh, the story gets greater. It typically gets greater later, but guess what? I'm gonna give it to you all right now. Pause. So as I mentioned, he gets sitting behind the fence or whatever. Once the internal affairs gets involved and they get to conducting investigation, and they get to looking back at cameras and taking statements from different inmates and statements from Big Ben or what have you. Come to find out, this officer had done this with 3 prior inmates. 3 prior inmates. 2 of them still being incarcerated. Well, actually, Big Ben is still incarcerated. He's in the hole, but on top of that, you got 3 more. 1 has been released, and the other 2 are still incarcerated. Well, Big Ben, he's singing. He's trying to protect himself. Hey, look, man, the dude, made me do it. He has an image to uphold. He don't want to be looked at as the inmate that was caught with a dude, an inmate or a correctional officer. You know what I mean? So man, it wasn't nothing like it, man. He told me that if I didn't do this, he was going to make sure that I never made parole. And I got a lot of years on the shelf, which means I have a lot of years remaining. And I just went along with it, even though I didn't want to. I went along with it for the simple fact, this dude threatened me. Why is he saying this? Lawsuit. He trying to sue the Department of Corrections, Blackburn, and anybody else that he can sue, saying that this officer made him do these things. And there were prior individuals that were saying the same thing. Or at least, I don't know exactly what they were saying initially, but I know that there were prior individuals that they determined he was having relations. Miller's having relations. He was having relations with the inmates, man. And again, I don't knock anybody if that's what you want to do, if that's what, your cup of tea, if that's what floats your boat. But you're not supposed to be doing that with the inmates. Inmates are vulnerable. Inmates are and don't get me wrong, you're vulnerable, but even if that were the case, just say no, man. Simply say no. You don't have to be forced into those type of acts. You did that because that's what y'all was feeling each other, man. Big Ben and Sergeant Miller they had the googly eyes for each other. They was feeling each other. But you never really knew because Sergeant Miller never said nothing to nobody. You just walked around, but evidently, working that third shift, they got acquainted. He would come, often come through the dorm. He would spell the officer, when they went on their hour break or whatever. And so at some point, there was an interest. It was a Love Jones. You ever heard of a Love Jones? Love Jones. I got a Love Jones. Well, they had a Love Jones for each other. And it became quite apparent when that officer walked in that mop closet and seen them doing the absolute most. Investigations going on. Like I said, they determined that it was other individuals going, that was with this. Officer Miller, I keep saying Officer Miller, it's Sergeant Miller. He's charged. They charge him with sodomy and some other charges. I don't know the exact name. He's charged. So during this time that he's charged, wifey, she becomes involved. Now, when I say wifey, I'm referring to Big Ben's wife. He had a wife, 2 kids. They used to come and see him every weekend. Every single weekend. The doors open, they was there. Looked so happy. Looked like such a beautiful family. Not to say that they weren't just because this happened. She becomes intrigued and she wants to know what's going on. Now, here's the interesting twist with that. Back then, I don't know if they still do it then, but now, but back then, if you got caught in a sexual act in prison, they're going to send a letter home. They're going to notify your family. They're going to send a letter home. They're going to call. They're going to notify your family that this particular person, Big Ben, he was caught in a sexual act. They're not going to, give the specifics, but they're going to let it be known. Wifey received that call, that letter. Both probably. She don't know what's going on. She can't really get anything out of Big Ben because when she's talking to him, he's in a hole. He only has so much time on the phone. And then when he talks, baby, I'm going to explain to you what, nothing like that. Just trust me. I'm not like that or whatever. Baby, just trust me. Oh, I don't understand, but why? Why would they say this? Why would it, baby? Why are you in the hole? Why are you, they even send him 3 hours away now. So now she can't come and visit him every week. Matter of fact, she can't come and visit him, period, because he's in the hole. No visitations, no anything until this investigation is, complete. She don't know what's going on, as I mentioned. He's not saying anything, but he's saying that he doesn't want to say anything because on the prison phones, everything is recorded. Jail phones, prison phones, and they tell you anything you say, all calls are subject to being monitored. And they mean that. So you can whisper all day long, hey, baby, drop the motherfucking drugs off the thing. People be doing that dumb shit, because they whisper that the people's not going to hear them. So he didn't say anything on the phone. She's trying to figure out what's going on. I get a letter one day. Who is this? Look at the name. It's his wife. She sends me a letter. What I failed to mention to you all is his wife is my cousin. She's like literally my cousin. Now, initially we didn't really know that, but we came to find out or whatever. So it's like, oh my God, man. She's asking me what's going on. She wants me to call her. Now I feel as though I'm caught lightweight in the middle because I know what's going on because this officer has, he's told us exactly what the deal was. This is my cousin. This is my family. She should know what her husband is in here doing, what he's indulging in. But at the same time, is it really my place to say anything? Is it really my place to tell his wife what I knew or what I feel as though I knew? I didn't see it. Why would this officer lie? 9.9999999 times out of 10, this officer is not lying. But at the same time, I didn't see it. So I just chose not to get involved. She would have came to visit me if she could have. But you have to be on a list, like in the Department of Corrections. You can't just pull up. You can't just visit somebody. There's a process. You got to go to a background check and all that stuff. So even though she was already on his visitation list, she wasn't on mine. And I'm glad that she wasn't. So she's asking me. I'm like, listen, man, I don't, So she really gets a little upset at me and really, stops speaking to me for a while because she felt as though you my cousin. Cuz if anything's going on, you need to let me know. I remained neutral. I wanted to say something. But the thing about prison, man, you see no evil, you hear no evil. It's not my business. At the end of the day, it's not my business. But then again, is it my business? This is my family. She doesn't know what this individual's doing. What if she's with this dude and he comes home and he brings her something but it's not my business. So how do I really say anything? So I stay out of it. Big Ben's gone. Lieutenant Miller's gone. We don't really know what happens outside of Sergeant Miller being charged. Years later, I run into my cousin. I'm out now. I run into my cousin. We get to talking. Initially, she don't bring it up. I don't bring it up. We cool. We hitting each other up on Facebook or, social media, what have you. One day it comes up. She apologizes because I was mad at you about that. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things, and I ain't really mean to, put you in the middle or whatever. So she brings it up, and she's going into it. So I, at that point, you give me the green light. Well, whatever happened with this situation? Well, he came home, and he already had his suit. He was suing the Department of Corrections. He was suing Blackburn. He was suing several people. He was telling her, Big Ben, he was telling his wife that, nah, baby, it wasn't nothing like that, but I'm going to just roll with it because we can get this money. We got a few $100,000 coming out of this, man. This guy, I'm going to roll with it, man. He forced me to do this. I didn't want to do it. We didn't actually, he forced me. Now, she's very, very skeptical. She's looking at him like, come on now. I know you. Yeah, I mean, you a hothead. And like I said, he's good with these. You think that I'm going to believe that you allowed another man by himself? It wasn't 5 or 6 of them. They holding you down. They got your arms and your legs like you see on the movies. And, it wasn't anything like that. You think that I'm really going to believe that? Baby, just understand, I'm about to get this money for us. I'm going to make a better life for us. Just trust me, man. It's never happened. But she's hearing the quiet whispers. It's not even quiet whispers. Think about prison. They say that the streets talk. Prison definitely talks. So she's getting kites. She's getting word that, Big Ben, her husband, has been caught up with another dude that was a correctional officer. So she's already, getting the word. But she wants to believe her husband, man. She wants to believe her husband. They're going through the legal process. He ends up settling out for something minute, 50, 60, 70,000. It was somewhere right around in there before the lawyer got his standard 36%. So, they got the money or whatever. She didn't care anything about the money. I'm not just saying this because she's my cousin. I'm trying to be biased. I'm keeping it real, man. I'm keeping it 100. I'm keeping it a buck. She didn't care nothing about that little money, man. She wanted to know what was going on with her husband, man. What is the deal? What is going on with my husband? The one thing that I did tell her, man, just get you a test, man. When he comes home, just get you a test, man. That way you can know everything that you're hearing. You will know that this person, if you decide to lay down with him or whatever, that he's clean. And I say, you take a test too, because it works both ways. I've heard women say, well, when a dude comes home from prison, he has to get a test. Most dudes don't even indulge in that type of activity in prison. Yeah, they'll throw it out there. People throw it out there. Oh, if a guy's in prison this long, he's going to do this. Definitely not true. So many people that don't indulge in that sort of activity. But at the same time, he don't know what you're indulging in. See, there's a person named Jody. Yeah, there's a guy named Jody. And Jody tends to pull up sometimes when you're doing them 3, 4, 5 years, how many years that you're doing, to make sure that your wife is well taken care of. And you will never, ever know about Jody because you will never, the phone's cut off at 11 o'clock. Unless you got a cell phone, and during this time, cell phones weren't as common in prison as they are now. She's just going to tell Jody, yeah, come through at 11:30, kids asleep or whatever. So you're never going to hear or know about Jody because Jody's never going to say anything. So guess what? While you're telling him to take a test, you need to take a test just as well. So both parties know, okay, baby's clean, I'm clean, whatever, and we can move forward. So things happen or whatever, they trying to work their marriage out, but it's just not the same. It's not the same. Lo and behold, he ends up going back to prison. He catches another case. He runs through that little money that he had. Now, much to his credit, he gives his wife half the money. So if, whatever she had, 25, 30,000, probably less than that, because like I said, the lawyer got his cut. But let's just I don't know. Let's just say she got $25,000. She put her money up. She kept her money. He ran through his money. Now he ran through his money. Guess what? He expects the wife get to getting high. Now he expects the wifey, to break him off. No, I can't do that. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have his money. And, he's going off there getting into it every night or whatever. She's not bending. No, I'm not. They haven't even gotten past this whole situation of how you got the money. He goes back to hustling. He's in them streets. He catches another case. Back in the penitentiary. Before he arrives in the penitentiary, his bond is like 10 G's. She won't bond him out. She's not going to visit him. And he's pissed. He's cussing her out. And, every once in a while, she ain't going to let him just totally drown. She might throw $30, $40 on his books. Throw some money on the phone so he can talk to the kids. But nothing drastic. She already had a good job. She already, she was good. Wasn't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but she was making it happen. She was good. As so many women do on their own. Shout out to all the beautiful women out there that's making it happen when these knucklehead fathers, supposed to be fathers, are locked up like I was, or just not caring and not even bothering to be around their kids. He ends up going to the penitentiary, gets another 10 years, and she can't deal with that at this point. She's really believing that what she heard the first time was the truth. So now he's gone. So now, guess what? She's really, really, really investigating. Technology's gotten better. She's able to really dig in. She comes across his paperwork. She's seeing the graphic, horrific thing that this officer said that he's seen. It's typed up. You know how they type everything up or whatever. She's seeing this and she's reading this and she believes. You know what? I can't. Once a woman's done, she's done. I can't do it. I cannot do it. She broke it off. He's crying, baby. I promise you, man. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna do this. He finally breaks down and confesses, thinking that if I confess and just tell her that it will make things better. At least I've told her the truth. Heck, she probably already knows. It seems as though she knows anyway. It didn't matter. She was already done. She was done. And when she's done, she's done. That's the thing about it. When a woman's really, really done with you, she's done, and there's nothing you can say, and there's nothing that you can do about it. She files for divorce. She's granted the divorce, and she leaves it. You lost a good woman, man. You lost your family. Now, she was a great woman to where she's not going to stop him from seeing his kids, but she wasn't bringing his kids to no prison to see him. She really didn't want to do it the first time, but it's just like, he is a good father. But at this point, she felt as though, and it's several years later, this is not my responsibility. If you cared enough about your family and these kids, guess what? You wouldn't have put yourself in a situation to go back. You didn't have to go back. We got money in the bank. I work. I make nice money. You could have worked. I didn't even ask you to do. It wasn't no 50-50 thing. I had been holding the household down anyway. I just wanted you to be home. Contribute some, but just be home. Stay out of them streets. No. You picked the streets over your family. And you didn't have to. You didn't have to be out there hustling. You was just out there hustling because you wanted to be out there hustling. I don't know what you're doing. She would randomly make him get, they would both get, STD tests and things like that because she didn't trust him. So then it got to the point to where they just didn't do anything. So that was his excuse for, man, my baby, you my wife, you not trying to, do nothing with me or whatever. So, yeah, because I don't know the truth. I don't know what you did. I don't know really what was going on. She left him. And to this date, she's gotten a new man. She's married. They end up having like another couple kids, man, and she seems to be happily ever after. Big Ben has been in and out of the joint, and that's just, it's just a lifestyle that he actually chose for himself when he really, really didn't have to. Oftentimes, man, I talk about, as of late, when I speak about like booty bandits, a booty bandit comes in all shapes, colors, size, and forms. See, a lot of people think that a booty bandit is just some big muscular dude, white dude, black dude, whatever, whatever nationality, Mexican dude or whatever, and he's mean looking and he's, just walking up, just, stomping through the yard, man, you know what I'm saying? Just taking it. Nah, booty bandits, man, don't always look that way. In this particular situation, this particular case, the booty bandit was in blue. The booty bandit was the motherfucking correctional officer, my bad, Sergeant Miller. 4 individuals. And it was just at that facility. There's no telling, because he had been at other facilities prior to Blackburn. He had been in the county jail just as well. That's a little bit more difficult to make that happen in the county jail, but where there's a will, there's a way. So who knows? Booty bandit, man. Correctional officer. Started off as a correctional officer, was on his way to being lieutenant, but it all stopped being a sergeant. If it wasn't for that officer that walked in and caught that and was brave enough, now that's bravery for your ass. Pause. Double pause. Triple pause. Some things are just not even pausable, man. Some things you just don't say. And if you don't know what pause means, just look it up in the Urban Dictionary. No offense to nobody. Just look it up. Damn shame what happened to that boy, man. Yeah, I mean, Big Ben. Big Ben. But I tell you what, even with that being said, dude still ain't running up on Big Ben. They not running up on Big Ben. I seen a dude one time, man, that was just staring at him, man. Just kept looking at him, man. So Big Ben's like, man, what's up, man? What you staring at, man? What you looking at? Dude was like, oh, man, it wasn't nothing like that, man. I was just looking at how swole you are. Oh, man, the crazy things you see and hear in prison, man. You know what I mean? Stay out of prison, man. Real Kens TV. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the motherfucking channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. Anytime I bring you this action and this heat. That's what that officer heard seen when he walked in the door. That's what he heard in the mob closet. He amongst the first to receive, man. Real Kens TV.